Have you ever been curious about what people truly think about something? I know someone who hasn't. Google. Google surely hasn't, because people ask it questions all the time, right? I mean, you probably ask it questions all the time. So I've decided to do something maybe a bit, out of the ordinary of what I'm doing usually. I've decided to ask Google, what are people actually asking you about friends? And I was served. And then I decided something even crazier. I decided that I was going to answer them and share them with you. Are you ready? Because there might be questions you ask yourself, but you never dared to ask. And now I've turned the questions into categories. C'est parti. Category number 1. Food, because there ain't anything more important than food for French people, right? So, first question. Is French onion soup French? And that's actually not so bad of a question. You'll see this worst one. Because it seems that in English, a lot of food is called French something, right? French toast, French fries, French onion soup, etc. So what about onion soup? What about French onion soup? Is it really French? Well, yeah. Traditionally, it is a French dish. Or so history, or not really history, but anecdotal history tells us. I'm a bit of a fan of history, and that was actually my field of study. And it's quite an interesting little thing, quite a funny anecdote, if you will. It concerns a duke in his pajamas and everything. If you are super curious about that, Google it, or maybe next time I'll tell you the full story of that. Is French food good? Well, it depends who you are talking to. Because it seems to be a common thing that people think that French food is delicate and subtle, hence qualified of good. But French food is kind of too broad of a term because it includes a lot of different things. When you are saying French food, do you mean, and are you talking about Parisian food? Is it a fruity macaron? Is it northern French food, like a cheesy Welsh? A Welsh is a dish that is composed of cheddar, beer, mustard, bread and ham. So it's really consistent, not really subtle. Or maybe you're talking about a ratatouille. A ratatouille is a dish from the south of France that is made with courgettes, with tomatoes, sometimes aubergines as well. Or are you talking about a tartiflette? Tartiflette is a dish of the mountains that is made with potatoes, reblochon, which is a type of cheese, sorry. So potatoes, cheese, pancetta, and cream. Not really subtle either. So you have to be precise when you ask this question. Is French food good? Well, it depends what kind of French food you are talking about. However, because there's so much variety in French cooking, you can be sure to find something that you like, right? Second category, let's talk about politics / social, because I don't really like talking about politics too much. I think that this podcast and my voice here with Just French It Anyway is not the place to talk about politics. So I've selected the soft questions. Is France a democracy? Yes, it is. For a little recap, a democracy is a political system being the way a society's politics are organized, in which the power belongs to the citizen. So the citizens are voting for whoever is in power, as opposed to a dictatorship, for example, where the power is in the hands of one or a few and there are no election. This person is at the head of it. In France, people vote for their rulers. We vote for the president and we vote for the assembly, hence making it a democracy. Does France have a king? No, we don't anymore. Our last king was Louis Philippe. Louis Philippe ceased to be our king because I seems to have forgotten the specific vocabulary term of it. But anyway, you get my point. In 1848, when the Second French Republic was declared, so the king at the time, Louis Philippe, fled to the UK and stopped to be the king of France. For a little note, this was the Second French Republic, and we are now on the Fifth French Republic. So it's a misconception that the French Revolution, which was a century before that, ended the French monarchy. We had a few kings after the French Revolution of 1789. We had a few kings after it, and we even had an emperor after Louis Philippe as well. Does France have a prime minister? Yeah, we do. It's not the same as a British prime minister, though. In France, the prime minister is the chief of the government. The president isn't, the prime minister is. You can say that the prime minister shares the power over the president. Because in France, the parliaments have a lot of power as well. So the French prime minister is not elected by the population. That's the president. The president is elected by the population directly. We vote for president. And then the second vote is we vote for whoever is going to represent us at the assembly. So generally we vote for a party. We vote for specific people, but generally speaking, we vote for a party. The party that has won the most seats at the assembly is then the party from which the president will choose a prime minister. So sometimes, because there are two separate elections, sometimes there's years in between them, sometimes you have a president from one party and you have a prime minister from another party, a prime minister and a government from another party. So that is called a coalition, and it can sometimes happen. It has happened a few times under the Fifth Republic. Does France have free healthcare? Well, yes and no, because yes, of course, if you compare our healthcare system to countries like the US or the UK, the French system seems free, right? We go to the doctor, okay, we pay for the doctor, but then we get reimbursed. And then we go to the pharmacy, and then we don't pay for our medicine because the pharmacist then sends something to something that will pay them. You don't need to know all of that, but basically we don't pay a lot of things. However, nothing is truly ever free, because what actually pays for all of those things that we don't pay is the state. And the state, how is the state founded? By taxes. So people who pay taxes are paying for the healthcare system, right? So, nothing is ever truly free, and France's free healthcare system is not really free. Plus, the basic healthcare that we get from that system doesn't cover everything. And French people, more or less, all pay for additional coverage. This insurance, this additional coverage, for example, gets us not to pay when we are getting glasses or for the dentist or things like a bit less important than general healthcare. This insurance that we pay is called the mutuelle. Does France have states? No, we don't. France is a state. Not in a way an American might think of it, though, because we are not a federal republic. The French state is divided into 18 regions, which are then divided, each of those regions, into smaller regions, and there's 101 smaller regions in total. This division is mainly for administrative purposes. But for example, for the election of the assembly that we were talking about a bit earlier, you elect a deputy per small region. The law also doesn't change from one region to another, except when it comes to very local matters such as where you are allowed to build or how your house should look like, etc. Safety. I was surprised to have to talk about safety and to do a category about it, but well, here we go. Two important questions. Is France safe? That's a bit of an odd question to me. Yes, there has been terrorist attacks, but it depends what you compare France to, because overall, France is a rather safe country. Again, it depends where you are in France, what kind of risk you're taking, etc. Is French tap water safe? This one was kind of weird, but I saw it asked a few times, and I guess I have to answer it then. Yes, French tap water is safe. except where they tell you that it's not, when you have a little poster that tells you do not drink the water, don't drink the water because it's probably not safe. I drink tap water all the time. I hardly ever buy plastic bottles, and I'm fine. And in fact, if you ask for a pitcher of water at the restaurant, it'll be tap water. Geography. Geography is not my favorite topic, but let's go. Is France in Europe? Yes, it is. Can France be seen from England? Yes, also yes. Dover is in England, and Calais, which is in France, are only about 30 kilometers away. Well, it's the sea in between, but there is only 30 kilometers in between Dover and Calais. So if you go to the Cap Grinet is a cliff on the coast of northern France near Calais. If you go there on a bright day, well, you'll see the coast of England. And what you will actually see is the white cliffs. It's a really nice view. So if you have the occasion to do so and to go there, do it. But you kind of see how close England and northern France are. Next question. Where is France? France is in Europe, Western Europe to be exact. It's nested between Belgium, Germany, Switzerland, Italy, and Spain. And then you have the Atlantic, and you have England up there as well. History. Well, I had a hard time naming this category, so it's not really history. But what is France known for? That's kind of a geography question as well. And I'm not sure I'm the most capable person to answer that, because to answer this, you would need the opinion or the point of view of a foreigner, because then you know what France is known for, right? So you tell me. But if I had to guess, I'd say that France is known for its food, so things like croissant, for fashion, for Paris, probably. And if you are into business, maybe boats, planes, and then generally speaking, anything a bit fancy. When did France become independent? Well, never, because France was never a colony, so it actually had colonies. It wasn't a colony. So next French National Day, which is on the 14th of July, don't write down on Twitter or any social media, Happy Independence Day. Okay. Next category, society living in France. Interesting topic, and actually very, very specific questions. You ready? Does French Post deliver on Saturday? Yep, it does. We have a bit of a reputation of not working a lot, do we? On Saturdays, most shops and services will be open. Not all administrations, though, so that can be a bit of a bummer, especially if you're planning to come to France to live there. It's not unusual if you are. I'm telling you that if you are moving to France, it's not unusual to have to take a few hours off work just to go to an administrative appointment. Don't expect anything to be open on Sundays, though, as well. What is France's currency? Euros. France is part of the European Union and is also part of the Eurozone, which is the countries member of the European Union that have adopted the euro as a currency. For example, the UK, even though they are leaving the European Union right now, they never adopted the euro, even though they were part of the European Union, but they weren't. The currency wasn't euro; it was the pound. Before that, we had the franc. Language. Oh yeah, we're entering my expertise topic. Does French sound like German? Well, no. Not to me anyway. Again, it depends what your point of view is. But I would say that from the point of view of a native English speaker, French has nothing in common in terms of sounds with German. If you are curious about that actually and about French pronunciation, I suggest you watch the podcast, you listen to the podcast called Why Your French Pronunciation Sucks, or the most important pronunciation mistakes are here French learners make. Okay, let's do that again. Okay, so you watch the podcast Why Your French Pronunciation Sucks, or most common pronunciation mistakes I hear French learners make, if you want to know more about French pronunciation. Is French hard to learn or is French easy to learn? Well, if you are an English native, it's easier to learn French than to learn Spanish or Chinese because French and English have tons of common vocabulary. But then on other levels, it's not easy like learning how to make your bed. But then if you have some sort of a disability, maybe making your bed is difficult and learning French will be extremely easier. Yeah, if you want to know more about that, I suggest you sign up for the emails and then you'll get notified each time I post something new. And I'm speaking about French language, about the French language, how to learn it, specific learning techniques, common pronunciation mistakes, etc., etc. And then as a bonus, you'll receive the private info that I only share by emails as well. If you like this podcast, if you want to know more about Just French It, I suggest you follow Just French It, you give me a thumbs up for good karma, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.